This video is going to cover switching the blog application over to Postgres. So in the last episode, we set up some benchmarking. And while I was looking through the benchmarking, I realized that the comments weren't actually being created properly. And after looking at the documentation for the ActiveRecord-Import, I saw that the recursive call actually only works with Postgres. And since we're going to be using Postgres in production later, I thought it'd be a good time to switch over. So I have this DigitalOcean guide on how to install Postgres. I'll have a link to it in the video description. But we're going to go through this just in case you don't already have it installed. If you do have it installed, just check the little progress bar at the bottom of the YouTube video and you can skip ahead to the next section. So the first thing we're going to want to do is run a sudo apt update just to make sure that we have all of the updated goodies on our system so that we grab the latest stuff. Now that we have that, we can then go ahead and install Postgres. To do this, you'll want to run the sudo apt install Postgres command. I'll full screen this. And you're going to need to install Postgres. You're going to need to install PostgreSQL-contrib. And you might need, what is it? I think it's like libpq-dev, which is one of the build tools. So without that, I think it won't build. It might build with just the Postgres contrib. I'm not entirely sure, but I seem to recall needing to install the pq-dev myself. The next thing that you need to know is in the case of my version of Postgres that I have installed, if I do a sudo service Postgres stop PostgreSQL. When you restart the computer, sometimes the service isn't set to auto start. So if you ever run into an issue where your Rails app can't connect to the Postgres server suddenly, you might have restarted your computer. So just run a sudo service PostgreSQL start, and that will start up your server. Now, the other thing that you need to know is that your Rails app will try to connect to this Postgres server by using your username. And this can cause some issues. So what we can do, I think the command, I think it's listed in here, is going to tell you to pop into your Postgres server, which we're going to do with the Postgres-i-u and then the Postgres user. So this is created for you during installation. And now we're in the Postgres user. We can now enter the PostgreSQL prompt by just typing PSQL. So now we're inside of our Postgres session. In here, we can do something like /l to list our servers. And as you can see here, I have plenty of servers. None of this is important though. So if you're trying to get any meaningful information to come hack me, you might have to try a little bit harder. But one thing you'll notice is that I have a database name equal to my own name. And this is talked about in this article here, which it basically tells you that when you start, you want to create a new role. And we're going to do that using this command right here. So you can either do that from inside of your session, or you can use this command to do it from outside of your session. We're going to exit out of our Postgres server now that we know that we can connect. And you have two different options. If you're just logged in as your Postgres user, like I am right now, you can run the create user --interactive command. But if for some reason that's not working for you, I'm going to hit Control-D to log out. You can run this command right here, which is just sudo-u Postgres. So you're using the Postgres user, and then you're running that command. So I'm going to copy that, paste it in, and full screen this. It's going to ask me to add the name of the role that I want to add. So in this case, I want it to match my username. So I would type Dean, but because I already have that, I'm just going to create like a demo tutorial or something. And then it asks you, do you want it to be a super user? You can create yes, and then you're good to go. Now that's one thing that we need to do. The other thing you can do, which it might cover it in here, it might not. But yeah, you need to create your DB. So we just created that user of demo tutorial. You now want to do something like create DB and then whatever your username is. So in this case, it'd be like my name, Dean. I can run that and it'll tell me create DB error, database creation failed, error, database Dean already exists. And I think the reason why you want to do this is because when you try to log into the Postgres server, I believe it does some sort of matching where it checks if the user you're trying to connect with has a database, and if it does, then it can connect. So I'm logged in as Dean right now, and if I type PSQL, I can actually pop in here on the Dean account and do something like /l, and I can still open up my database. And the reason why this is all important, even though it seems very boring, is when you try to run your Postgres, sometimes you'll run into issues where your user doesn't have the proper permissions or something. So you want to make sure that you have all of this stuff set up. And this article seems to do a pretty good job of covering all of this. That is it for actually setting up Postgres on our server. We now need to switch over to it. Now, this is something I can never remember how to do. So all you have to do is search for it. So we can search for Rails switch DB adapter to Postgres. And if we scroll down, we'll see this DB system change command. And thanks to this Go Rails episode from Chris Oliver, we have this DB system Rails command right here. So what we want to do is just type Rails DB system change space --2 equals PostgreSQL. And I'll full screen that just so you can see that. So we run this command. It's then going to ask us if we want to overwrite our database.yaml. In my case, I'm going to hit yes because there's nothing in this project that we've set up yet. That'll overwrite the YAML and then it'll update the gem file. So let's come into the gem file and see what it did. And in here, we should see somewhere that we have the Postgres gem in here. So these blue bars show me what's changed in my Git history. Previously, this was gem SQLite. Now it's the gem PG1. And I think that comes from the, let me just check. It's the Git Lens extension, I think. So you can just find one of the Git Lens extensions, and that'll just show you your Git history. So, okay, now we have that set up. Let's go ahead and let's try to do a Rails, well, I guess in my case, I have to do a Rails DB drop just in case I already have this database. So I dropped mine, that looks good. And now I can do a Rails DB create, and you'll see that it creates a database. So it created the database blog application development and blog application test. Those are coming from our config file and our database.yaml. If we come in here now, we can see that our adapter is set to Postgres for the default as Unicode encoding, a pool. Then if we come to the development, it knows that the name of the application is blog application. So it just adds _development at the end. And if we scroll down here, it does the same thing for test. And it does something similar for blog application production. Then it also has a username and an environment variable. Now the environment variables are fine, but we have Rails encrypted credentials. So the other thing you could do is you could just grab this from your Rails encrypted credentials, which we'll cover when we eventually deploy this application to production. Basically, the only thing you have to do is say something like, what is it? Rails.application.credentials.dig parentheses colon, and then the name of your key. So maybe prod DB is how you get your prod DB, or maybe you do something like prod DB username, and that allows you to grab it from your Rails credentials. If you want to access these credentials, you just type editor equals, in my case, I'm going to type code space -- wait, end quote, and then Rails credentials : edit. That'll open it up inside of, oh, looks like I don't have the right master key. That should open it inside of your VS Code. Now, alternatively, and we'll cover this in a second, if you don't have your code set up properly, you might want to try something like editor equals vim. That's also going to fail. And you can also try something like editor equals nano. And I actually found out the other day that if you're on Windows, you can even try editor equals notepad, I think, and it'll open up in notepad. But okay, my key seems to be wrong. I don't have anything important in there. So this key right here is what we use to decrypt our credentials.yaml. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete mine because I can't access it anyways. Then I'm going to go ahead and delete the credentials.yaml. So I'll click delete on that. And then I'll go ahead and run that editor equals code -- wait command again for the Rails credentials edit. So I'll hit enter on that, and it should now open this up. So here we have our secret key base for the application. And then if you wanted to add this credential right here for prod DB username, you come in your credentials file, you say prod DB username is equal to, I don't know, blog app prod DB user. Maybe that's what you call your user. You save this, you exit, it'll then save the file, and then you can access it just like this. Okay, so now that all that's done, let's go ahead and let's try to run a Rails DB migrate command to migrate the database. And now let's come over to our seed file. So the entire reason why we did this is because our active record import wasn't working. You do need to add a recursive call to the comment import. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to move this up to here. We're going to get rid of the comment import entirely. We're going to get rid of the comments array. We're just going to move the comments array or the posts array in here. We're now going to, if I full screen this, we're now going to grab our users. Actually, let's leave it like this because I want to show something just to sort of make an impact on what performance looks like, because everyone seemed to like the performance bits last time. So I'm going to grab this post.push and I'm going to move this down to the bottom of this loop. For this comment, we're no longer pushing it. We're no longer assigning it. We're instead going to say post.comments.build, and then we're just going to pass in a specific user. So if we're just going to say grab the user.second, and for this one, we'll just grab the user.first. And you'll see why we're doing that in a second. So now that we have all that done, I'm going to go ahead and run a Rails db:/seed command in the console. You can see here, it's really flying through these. We're up to 200 posts. We're seeding 1,000. And once this is done, you'll see a brief pause. I say brief, it could take a little bit, where it does the actual post import. So here's our pause. This is where the actual hit to the database happens. If we didn't have this post import and we instead did each of these transactions separately, this entire thing here, you'd have a pause between each of these. So overall, our elapsed time is 22 seconds. But if we open up our Rails console and we type comment.count, we have 0 comments. The reason for that is this little snippet that I missed last time where it tells you that this is a recursive functionality. So after you push to the books here, it wants you to do a comma recursive. So we're going to grab this comma recursive and end the post.import. I'm going to type comma recursive true. And then I'm going to come over to my console and I'm going to type Rails db:/reset. Now it's going to go ahead and run through all of these again. You can see here we made it to the end, and now it's going to go ahead and do all of those transactions for us. And you can see here we made it to the end and it took us 34 seconds instead of 22. But now if we type Rails C and type comment.count, we now have 10,000 comments. Now let's check if that number makes sense. We have 1,000 posts. Each one gets 1,000, or each one gets 10 comments. 10 times 1,000 is 10,000. So that checks out. Now, this 34 seconds seems pretty slow, right? Well, you have to remember, just like in our application, where in our controllers, we had all of those includes, right here where we do the includes to make sure that we're not hitting the database when we use a post comment to check who the user is, because we're just grabbing it to begin with, we could also include the user here. If we come up to the top here, we can set, let's say, Dean equals user.first, because up here we're creating a user with an email of Dean. I'll then create another one. I'll call this one John. I'll say this is equal to user.second because we're creating John right here. I'm then going to grab Dean, put him into the first post. I'm going to grab John and put him into the comments user right here. I'm now going to run this again. And remember the last one took, what was it? 34 seconds. So I'm going to run this one in this console and I'm going to type Rails db:/reset. I'm going to drop the database, create it, migrate it, and then run this same command again. And then we're going to see if this one also takes 34 seconds. Okay, so we got to the end here and this took 27 seconds down, well, 28 down from 34. So we saved about 6 seconds. That might not seem like much, but in all honesty, 10,000 records really isn't that much. Let's go ahead and let's open up our console, do a post.count to check how many posts we have, and then we'll do a comment.count to check how many comments we have. Next thing I want to do is start the application. And then we'll come over to the app and refresh. I'm then going to log in to dean@example.com with a password of password. I'm going to come over to the blog. And one thing you're going to notice is, first of all, this takes forever to load because we have like 1,000 things and we're not doing any eager loading. So let's go ahead and let's fix that thanks to the bullet gem. So we'll come over to the post controller, and inside of the post controller, we'll come over to the post.all and we'll just say post.all.includes : user, comma, the other one that's going to yell at us for is the : rich text body. I'll save that. I'll click OK, and then I'll refresh again, and we'll see that it loads a little bit faster. But now I'm going to click on one of these posts and we're going to get an error. It says PG undefined error, operator does not exist, JSON at less or greater than symbol. The reason for this is a problem with our notifications gem. If we come down to our migrations for our notifications gem, create notifications right here. In here, we have this t.json for the params field that we were using previously for our comment and post params. This actually needs to be a JSON-B column now that we're in Postgres. There's two ways to do this. You can drop the database to change this, or you can create a change migration. I'm going to create the change migration. We're going to say Rails G migration, change JSON column in notifications. And we're going to say, we'll just hit enter and we'll run this migration. We can then come over here and we'll just open this up. And we can come down here and I'll just say, oops, right here, change notifications, params, JSON-B using params, JSON-B. And we can go ahead and we can run this. Say Rails DB : migrate. We changed our columns here. And now let's try Rails S again and try to refresh this page. And now that's working just fine. And we have all of our comments down here. I'll create a test comment myself, make sure I can still edit it. Testy test. That all seems to be working. Now let's just check to make sure that we actually get notifications because we weren't generating notifications in our seeds file when we created those comments. It's because we're not really doing the callback for those comment creations, but that's fine. We'll just go ahead and I think I have another tab open somewhere. I have my incognito tab. Let me just refresh and I'll log in. john@doe.com with a password of password. I'll come over to the blog. It'll take a second to load because we have 1,000 things loading on a single page for some reason. I'll click show page. I'll click show page, type test, reply, then I'll refresh on the Dean account and now I have that comment showing. I also have a broken comment notification here from myself. That's because we have some missing logic. So let's go take a look at that real quick so we can do a bit more cleanup. This will also be a bit of a cleanup day. When we come into the comment.rb model, we have the comment notification with comment self post. We deliver this later to the post.user. Now the issue here is we're not checking if the comment user isn't equal to the post user. So we'll just come up here and we'll say return if the post.user equals the comment.user, in which case you're commenting on your own post, so you shouldn't get a notification. So we'll save this, exit out of here, and I'll come over to the blog. Again, it'll take a second to load. I'll come into this post. I'll say hello, click reply, refresh, and now you can see we didn't get a reply for the title-2, but let me come over to the title-1 real quick. And that'll mark it as red. So now both of those are red. Of course, we have this one notification here that we created, but we won't get notifications for our own posts anymore. Now, the last thing to talk about is in our admin panel last time, I suggested going into the posts and for the post show page that you should try to fix this yourself as sort of an exercise. We'll now go ahead and we'll fix this real quick just so that you can check if what you did was correct. So this is our admin controller, the show action. So we're going to come into the admin controller. There's going to be a show action. Now you can see here that it's asking us to include several things. That was a little bit tricky last time when I said this is similar because there is actually an extra step. You can see here it's asking you to include the comment user, which we're including the comments and we're including user, but you might notice that this user is for the post, not for the comments. Other thing is it's going to ask us for the rich text body again. So to do this, what you actually need to do is change this from a colon at the start to a colon at the end, and then do user and rich text body inside of some brackets because you're including this from the parent comments. So this is how you can do some nested stuff here for your includes. We'll now go ahead and refresh, and this works just fine without throwing any errors. That's going to do it for this video. Hopefully it was helpful. If you're interested in creating an API for your Rails app that also lets you use it like a regular Rails app and log into it, I have a video that covers logging into the API and logging into the Rails app, and also being able to use something separate like an Android app if you want to all at once using the Doorkeeper gem. And I'll have a link to that video on the screen right now.